What's up, guys? Welcome to today's video where we're going to talk about buying a fishing kayak. Before we talk about buying a fishing kayak, I'm going to take off my glasses so I don't look so goofy. So we're going to talk about the factors that you should consider before buying a fishing kayak. And I'm going to put them in the order of what I consider importance based on my experience as a kayak angler, shop owner, interacting with anglers, and the experience of having my finger on the pulse of what anglers truly want, through kayak bass fishing, the organization, the community, the tournament series, and just on social media and in-person interactions in general. So that's the kind of the foundation for where these factors come from and the ranking comes from. First and foremost, I think you need to consider stability. Now, if you have to think about the stability all day, you're not going to be comfortable and you're not going to be confident fishing. If you're going to stand, you need to consider that. And I firmly believe if it's going to be a true fishing kayak that you're going to be happy with in the long run, you should have the ability to stand. If your budget doesn't allow you to buy a kayak that you can stand up in, especially if you're a bigger dude like I am, then you really need to focus on getting that sit-down stability and work your way towards getting a kayak that you can stand, a little further down the road. But stability is the number one factor. Again, if you have to worry about flipping and losing your gear or maintaining position, you're not going to be able to focus on fishing. The second factor that I think you should consider is comfort. Now, comfort is a little bit of a complicated scenario because there's a few things to consider within the comfort arena. For example, you could get away with a little bit less comfortable seat if the kayak will allow you to stand. Now, let me explain that. If you can stand up every hour, every couple of hours, you can stretch your back, you can kind of move around, you can get the blood flowing back to your legs, you can get off your backside for a little while. It's going to give you a little bit more staying power. It's going to give you a little bit more long-term comfort. But if you're going to sit down all day, you really need a comfortable seat, because after a couple of hours, almost any seat out there that is not a premium seat is going to feel miserable. And you're going to not like kayak fishing, but it's not going to be because of the kayak, it's going to be because of the seat. So comfort is the next thing that I think you should really consider. One of the factors of comfort is also how high or low and the seat angle. One thing you really should consider is the distance between your hip height and your ankle height. If you're in a pedal drive boat, that really needs to be considered because you're pumping your feet back and forth. You're using the largest muscle group on your body, your quads. And if you're pumping uphill, your feet will fall asleep, you'll start to get cramping, and it just puts you in an awkward position. So really, in your pedal drive kayaks, I think a downward angle from your hip to your ankle is imperative, but that's something that has to be considered. So comfort is the number two thing you should definitely consider before buying a fishing kayak. Now, the next one is debatable, but again, I'm going to tell you, as a kayak angler and as a member of the kayak fishing community and as one of the leaders in it, I can tell you the thing that I see the most is people really buy their fishing kayak off of riggability first, but I put it at third because it is something that you should consider, but it's not the only thing you should consider. You should definitely consider that stability and comfort first, and then riggability. What are you going to put on the kayak? Does it come with tracks? Does it come depth finder ready? Does it come power pole ready? So think about kind of the long-term plan that you have for your fishing kayak. Are you going to add those accessories? And if so, be sure that it has the ability to add them so that you don't end up buying a kayak that doesn't allow you to expand in some of the accessories or the modifications that you want to do in the future. I oftentimes see people save money by buying a cheap fishing kayak or an inexpensive fishing kayak and then double spend that money modifying it to get it to where they want it to be. Now, again, if that's a factor of your budget and you have to buy the boat and add things to it as you go, by all means do that, because again, the sooner you can get out on the water and start experiencing the awesome sport of kayak fishing, the better off you are, because the one thing you can't buy is yesterday, no matter how much money you have. So get out there and enjoy kayak fishing, but again, consider riggability. Now, the next one, I'm gonna have a lot of old school or hardcore kayakers who've turned fishermen, or people who truly appreciate the performance, kind of forcefully exhale, I can't believe he didn't make that one first. But I'm just gonna tell you guys, this one's almost always last or next to last, and that is performance. Now, performance in most people's minds means how well does it paddle? How well does it handle in the wind? But there's more to performance than that. How you plan to propel your boat is a more important factor than a lot of cases how that boat paddles. But that also is a little bit complicated, so let's dive into that a little bit. If you're gonna paddle your boat, then you have a different type of performance that you're looking for. If you're gonna pedal your boat, you have a different type of performance that you're looking for. And if you're gonna power your boat with a trolling motor or an electric outboard, you have a different type of performance that you're looking for. But here's what I'll say. In the power arena and in the pedal arena, those are both mechanical items and have the propensity to fail. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Regardless of how reliable a motor or pedal drive is, they have a potential for failure. So consider that even though you need a boat that pedals better if you're a pedal drive person, or powers better if you're putting a motor on it, you still should consider your ability to paddle that boat, because if you're 3 miles from the boat ramp and you've got the fish to win a tournament, or if you're 3 miles from the boat ramp and you have to be off before a park closes at sunset or something like that, and your pedal drive or your motor fails and you have to paddle a barge, you're gonna have a hard time doing it. So for me, I think you should consider propulsion first and then decide on what performance you're looking for, but always consider a little bit of a hybrid performance that you really want to be able to paddle that kayak if you have to. The last one, and again, a lot of people are going to say this should be first, and I'll agree with them to an extent, but it's affordability, okay? I don't want to tell you affordability first and then to only buy what you can afford, because again, a lot of people spin their way up to the next boat and they've spent twice as much money doing it. So affordability is a big factor. If you can't afford the boat, it doesn't matter how nice the features are. So affordability is a big option, but consider not necessarily having to buy that boat 2 or 3 times in your affordability equation. So guys, in review, stability, comfort, riggability, performance, and then affordability are my top 5 factors for buying a fishing kayak. The big honorable mention, and the one that I would say you still have to consider, but I don't think it's a consideration that makes the top 5, is transportability, okay? And the reason that I say that is just because you can't transport it on your vehicle doesn't mean that that's gonna be that way forever. Doesn't mean you can't pick up a trailer. Doesn't mean you can't still transport it. I've seen people transport the biggest fishing kayak out there on the smallest car out there. So transportability is definitely something that you need to consider. Storage is something that you need to consider. But again, I consider those kind of lower tier factors. So guys, there you have it. That's the things you really need to take into account before purchasing a fishing kayak.